Welcome to No Notes. I'm Colby.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome back.
Welcome back. So how was your week?
It's been a week. How about you?
Crazy?
It's been busy. It's just that time of the year. I'm menstruating. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it is just like, I don't know.
And you're wearing white?
It's really hectic. But I have found a new show that's giving me life at the moment.
Oof. Did it just come out?
It's pretty recent.
Oh.
There's actually some really great TV lately.
You know what? I have been not in a TV mood recently. I nothing has been capturing my attention. Every night around 8 p.m. I just like want to relax, or I want to watch something stupid.
I think you would enjoy this.
Selling Beverly Hills, something like that.
Okay, it's a little wittier than that. But do you have Apple Plus?
No, poor.
So it's a new show on that called Palm Royale with Kristen Wiig.
Oh, okay.
And it's like late 60s, early 70s sort of commentary on like social class hierarchies within Palm Beach. And Kristen Wiig's character is someone who's like, she's married someone who comes from one of these like old money families, but they don't have the money and resources, and she's trying to break through the barrier of these like really
hierarchical,
well-to-do women and sort of the social structure around that.
So it's Apple TV's response to the Gilded Age.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
But it's fascinating. And this is controversial, I think. I don't always love Kristen Wiig.
I think that when I loved her in Bridesmaids.
Totally.
I don't think that she's been in quite something that funny.
Yes.
Sense. I feel like she has to direct and write the movie for it to be funny.
Yeah, she's obviously made really great things. Another one I love is Barb and Star.
Oh yeah, killed it. But also that's camp, and that's a movie you watch high. You wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna go take my parents to see Barb and Star."
And she's done some really strong like characters in SNL and stuff. Like the one at Target, I love. I just can't get over it.
She's amazing in SNL, great in Bridesmaids. I think since that, she's been having like a bit of a
flop era.
Yeah, I just don't think she's been choosing the right projects. She needs to fire her.
Maybe not flop, but Magikarp Splash era.
Yeah.
You know, but you should watch Palm Royale, another service you'll have to pay for.
I know. I still have Peacock. I told myself I was going to cancel and I still have it.
It's really, really good. And I'm also interested to watch the new show with guy from Red, White, and Royal Blue, the one that plays Henry, is Nicholas Galzatine, something like that.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, is in a new show.
He looks exactly like Leo Woodson or whatever from season 2 White Lotus. I always get them confused, and they're both British, of course. Although one's from like the bad part of England, Manchester. Yeah. Well, great week. That sounds like a great week.
Yeah. So let's get into tops and bottoms.
Okay. So I'm gonna flip a coin. Oh, wait. What? Sorry. What do you want? Heads or tails?
This week I want heads for bottoms.
Heads for bottoms. Let's see. And it's bottoms.
Yay. So you can get the top. You first.
So I know I sound like a broken record at this point.
Is this another album?
It's not a album. I'm just saying that this period in music release is probably the strongest that it's been since like about the same time, 2020. So the amount of great albums, not just good albums, great albums that have come out in the last like 3 weeks is insane. So we have Waxahachie that I talked to you about, Empress of. We also have Adrienne Linker, who she's the lead singer for Big Thieves. We have Beyonce's Cowboy Carter, and then today was Vampire Weekend.
I didn't realize you were a Vampire Weekend kind of girl.
And so it's weird because obviously Beyonce came out last week, and this week Vampire Weekend released their stuff, and they are the Beyonce of like art history majors.
Okay.
It's like every preppy boy, every like old wealth money white boy loves Vampire Weekend.
I've always loved the band name, but I've never liked any of their songs.
It's very quirky. I mean, sometimes it sounds like a very 18th century, 19th century like piano sort of thing, and then it goes into like modern rock. But they're just like they're just really smart. Precocious is what comes to mind.
Okay, yeah. I mean, for me, the music doesn't quite match the name, and I think that's where the disconnect is for me.
You only like music that sounds like a reverb of a queef. Like unless it's that, it's not going to grab your attention. It needs to have like stupid lyrics like I'm hot, 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 hot.
Yeah, I mean, I do love a Kim Petras repetitive like one sentence lyric with a sick beat.
And you also love like Forever 21 music or Selling Sunset music, like Tate McRae. Music. Yeah. If I'm gonna get it.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Oh wait, did you see that Laura Trump, who is running like the RNC this year, she released a song last week?
No, but that doesn't surprise me. Do you have to pay to listen to it on some independent streaming platform?
But apparently she recorded this this song before she was selected to be like the head of the RNC, and then made this like obviously terrible song, and then the DNC as a joke it did like a diss track that was AI generated, and it's actually it's really funny because it's like it's good.
Wow,
it sounds like a Kim Petras song.
Man, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you're gonna be playing in the bathroom.
All right, so my bottom of the week is also music related, tangentially.
Okay,
I need someone to tell me what the fuck is going on with JoJo Siwa.
She's trying so hard and it's so inauthentic, and it just comes off really bad.
For not just the listeners, but for me as well, can you explain what a JoJo Siwa is?
Are they going by they, them?
No idea.
Okay.
I just mean I have very little context as to JoJo. Like,
I think
came from Dance Mom, is that right? And then some Disney spinoff.
She was singing on Disney Channel or whatever, had some following, and as she grew up, she announced that she was queer, and she hasn't really had she hasn't been able to transition from childhood to an adult singer actress. So she's doing the Miley Cyrus track where she's trying really, really hard to be different, and it's
so cringe.
It's like written by the Philadelphia people. Like, it's just
the only person I've seen have a tougher like transition or reinvention of themselves is you.
I'm gonna fucking leave. God. I was going to say
she's fighting for her life. And it's funny that you mentioned Miley Cyrus, because I was going to say that she is somewhere stuck in between Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus.
Billy Ray? Why
her
Billy
aesthetic,
Ray?
The way she looks with it's kind of
it's giving Kiss.
Well, you're talking about the look that she wore on like a red carpet or something recently, which yes, that was a very Kiss look. But I just mean like she kind of has like a butch lesbian sort of look. It looks like Billy Ray, but now she's trying to reinvent herself like Miley and do the whole like good girl gone bad kind of thing. But it doesn't feel authentic.
Bad.
The lyrics are terrible.
Bad.
The choreography of this new Karma video is horrid.
Yeah, she
needs to fire her agent.
I remember when I Can't Be Tamed by Miley Cyrus came out, and I thought that was cringy.
Yeah.
But man, this has nothing on that.
You have to commit to the bit. Like if your whole thing is going to be that you're like unhinged and you're no longer this like good girl aesthetic. You got to be like Miley. You got to have people thinking that you're like off on a bender and you just lost it.
It's giving Jared Leto the Joker vibes.
I don't know. Everything I've learned about JoJo in the past week or so has been against my will, and I just want it to stop.
I know. What do you think about Kate Middleton of it all?
Kate Middleton?
Yeah. Today you sent me a TikTok.
Okay. So Alex and I were a little hooked by the absurdity.
I think everyone was.
Yeah. The absurdity of these like TikTokers and everyone else that kept trying to like put the pieces together of this conspiracy of Kate Middleton and why she wasn't being seen in the public. And then of course it came out that she has some form of cancer. right? And everyone was like apologizing online and sort of like shaming each other for that like sort of ridiculous behavior. And damn it, if it hasn't started again.
I think there was always going to be a subset of people that were never going to believe anything at that point because they did such a bad job and they really fucked it up on the rollout that they don't trust anything. Even there's a video, there's a video of this person and people are claiming there's glitches. I don't know if you went down the comments. I went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And apparently there's like an angle where like the ring that she's wearing on her finger glitches. And I looked at it. There was nothing wrong. There was no glitch.
Yeah,
like people are just, if you stare at something
crazed.
too long, if you stare at something too long, you're just going to see
people are
something.
so convinced that there's this highly coordinated effort to like lie to them about all these things.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why would you give your attention to this? Like the British royalty like already sort of has too much attention, I think, in their society, like how much money's being funneled to them. So why do you care? Like let them like die off, honestly.
I guess that's what JoJo and the royal family have in common. We just give them too much attention.
Yeah, we need to like
cut them
stop
off.
giving them oxygen.
Yeah, cut off the food source now.
All right, let's jump into today's topic. So I'm sort of semi-involved in my employee resource group at my company, which is for LGBTQ, but
oh, you are?
Yeah.
How many people are in it?
There's like 45-ish people.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent size. It's not the largest one I've been in, though. Like other companies I've been in have had significantly larger LGBTQ employee resource groups. But there was like a statistic I saw recently that, and I've seen a different series of numbers floating around. I think it depends on whether you're talking about just like the US and different age ranges and et cetera, but it's somewhere between like a third to upwards of 50% of American workers like either are not out at work or like haven't disclosed that to people. And I thought that was like really interesting, especially, 2024. But
so 50% of queer people aren't actually out, like up to 50% are not
they're
actually out there.
They're either not actively like disclosing that they're out or they also don't feel comfortable coming out in the workplace. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, obviously we are, blessed to sort of live in a bubble here in California. Not to say that every place here is as accepting and welcoming, but I don't know that I really experienced any challenges with that here. So I wanted to discuss that with you today and hear a little bit about what it's like for you to be queer and in the workplace.
So I have like the jobs that I've had I was a cashier at my dad's.
This is the first job you had?
First job I've ever had. I was a cashier at my dad's grocery store growing up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, from a really early age. I was like helping out, and then eventually when I was like 15 and a half, I got on the payroll.
So you were breaking child labor laws?
Oh yeah. I was the kid in the back. I was just like helping out with whatever I can. There's actually an exemption for families.
Yeah, of course there is.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always helping out when I was a kid. And then when I turned 15 and a half, I actually transitioned to the payroll and I had like a proper job of being a cashier. Man, I should have been fired multiple times. I cannot count. And I was always short on cash. Isn't that bad?
You not being able to count?
I still can't count. I can barely read. But I do remember the codes, like how the produce has codes.
Yeah, the SKUs and stuff that you have to type in.
Limes 4048, cilantro 511, banana 4011.
Wow.
It's like they just stuck with me.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your first job?
Similarly, my parents owned a commercial freight business, like a trucking business. Yeah. And I did a lot of administrative stuff around there, like helping my mom like file stuff, enter stuff into like their database, like, and oddly around the age of like 9 or 10, I was actively like calling brokers for like load dispatches and stuff too, which they always confused me for a woman at that age, just how high pitched my voice was. They're like, oh, thank you, ma'am.
No, I had the same problem up until 8th grade. Yeah. Fuck it. Wait, so they owned, what was it?
It was like a trucking company, like 18-wheeler.
Is that why you're still a lot lizard?
I'm surprised you know that term. How do you know what a lot lizard is?
I think I saw it on TikTok, obviously.
For the Velmas out there, a lot lizard is a sex worker that tends to frequent
the rest stops.
Yeah. I have encountered a fair number of them growing up.
I bet you did.
But so that was like, I guess not an official job. I was just like working with my parents. My very first like
big boy job?
Not big boy job, but like real job. Like I was on a payroll is a typical job of my species, I think, which was a barista.
Oh, at Starbucks?
It wasn't Starbucks. It was like a local coffee shop. We did not have a Starbucks in my town.
Colby, I mean this in the rudest way possible. You cannot serve people.
So people loved my coffee.
No.
Yes.
I bet you took 45 minutes to make one drink.
No, but I did burn the fuck out of my hand on like this milk steamer, like the first couple of times I used it. But this job is the first time I had ever used my gay privilege. Have you ever used gay privilege in a job?
I always say things that if a straight guy said would be fireable offenses, but I get away with it because I'm gay.
So this is like a minimum wage entry level job, right? And the only reason I took it is my dad was like making me get a job. Well, two things. He was like, you either have to play sports or you have to get a job. And I think he was hoping that I would choose the sports, but I had just finished a season of cross country and I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing any more athletic stuff for a hot minute. But he's like, you need to do something like with your time after school. So I like got a job at my friend's family's coffee shop and I used my gay privilege. I demanded that I would never clean the restrooms or take out the trash. Like what an entitled little shit.
Why would they hire you?
Exactly. So someone else that was always staffed there would have to do all these other things. And there were plenty of times where there was like another bitchy queen that worked there and he was older than me by like he'd graduated and was still just stuck in the town. And he would get so upset that I wouldn't clean the bathroom. And I'm like, no, it's not happening.
So how was that conversation? Like what
I told him he could call the owner.
Oh my God, Colby, I would hate to work with you so much.
Okay, but you know that I have a really bad, like...
Everything. You have a bad attitude.
My gag reflex gets triggered so easily. And it with either of those two things, either taking garbage to the dumpster or cleaning a bathroom, like I will projectile vomit and someone is going to need to clean that up.
But you use the bathroom.
Right, but it's the like biological warfare that these other people do that like I can't do it. I can't.
Oh my God.
So I only made coffee and I only made food items and rang people up and that's all I did.
Could you did they have meat there? I feel like you could not like.
Yeah, we had to assemble like these sandwich kind of things.
I feel like you would gag.
No, it's fine. It was like all like, it was fine.
Oh, poor family, poor coworkers.
Did you ever have, I consider a barista to be like a pretty
gay job.
Did you ever have any of those?
So I think cashier's kind of gay.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
were you sassy about it?
No, I was a people pleaser. People pushed me over. People would be like,
grannies insisting that you give them discounts when the coupons don't
God, all the time. People would be like, oh, I gave you, like I would give them their change back for a $5 and they'd be like, no, I gave you a 20. I'd be like, okay.
This is why you're always short.
I was too afraid. I was like afraid of confrontation. So I just let it happen.
Do your parents get mad at you?
One time, I remember I got change, like, you know how you like run out of change, like ones or quarters or something. You have to go to the office and get cash.
Yeah.
One time I left, I think it might've been multiple rolls of quarters while I was ringing someone up, and then I turned around and they were gone, and each roll was about $10 worth of quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the maddest that they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Or I've seen them get mad at me. I'm like, sorry, it must have been like $20 or $30. But I think it's just like the combination of me being like ditzy, afraid of confrontation. I don't know how I was employed.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone put you with a till. I want to talk about your like sort of the high level of your career path, but like as a kid, what did you see yourself growing up to be? Like, what did you want to do?
Oh, so I feel like all children want to be either a marine biologist or a veterinarian. And I wanted to be a veterinarian.
I can't imagine. You don't even like animals. Except for like dogs. But like every obscure animal I show you, you're like, ooh, that's gross.
No, I don't think they're, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would have worked out.
I love dogs.
Yeah,
I love dogs.
It'd be tough to do that job though.
I'd put everyone down. I'd be like, oops, put them down.
Oopsie.
Whoopsie. I'd just mess up slightly and like to cover my tracks, I'd just put them down. I'd be Dr. Death, but for dogs.
That's so sad.
Oh, I know. Whatever. Someone's got to do it.
So you want to be a veterinarian. That clearly worked out.
Clearly.
So where, like after working in your parents' store, what was like the rest of your career trajectory?
I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from probably sophomore year of high school.
Wow. Why that early? What was it about law that
attracted me?
Yeah.
So this is actually going to be kind of serious. It was a half day because of homecoming. I think it was like Spirit Week at my high school. Mm-hmm. It was a half day. And so my mom had to pick me up earlier. Because my mom had to pick me up earlier, there had to be like, she also worked at the grocery store. So my brother had to like switch with her. Anyways, it's a long-winded way of saying that my brother went to our family home. He's older. And he usually is not at the house. No one's usually at the home at that time.
Yeah.
And he interrupted an armed robbery that was going on at the home. There was 8 people, all of them armed with like shotguns and AK-47s. He had my 8-month-old niece with him.
Oh, wow.
They grabbed my niece, put her in one of those like walkers, put her in another room. They grabbed my brother and they took my PS3 cords, like the HDMI cord, the power cord, and they tied him up like hands to feet.
Damn.
They put a gun to his head and they told him that they were going to kill him. They pulled the trigger. Nothing came out. And like my brother flinched, obviously.
Yeah, that's intense.
And they all started laughing. And then they hit him in the back of the head with the butt of the gun. They left. They had destroyed our home. They took down every single painting that we had, just broke it in half. Like every single drawer that we had, they took it out and left it all on the floor. Like it was completely destroyed. They took my brother's cell phone, his car keys, and then drove in his car. And then they left it about 2 blocks in the middle of the street. After, I don't know how long, but my brother was able to like wiggle out of the cables and went across the street and was able to, talk to a neighbor and ask for help. They ended up prosecuting those 8 people.
So they got them.
They got them. They were a part of a ring, like a theft ring.
Wow.
So they actually got caught. They did 2 other homes in the area. They prosecuted them. 2 of them went to trial. I believe the other 6 pled guilty to get a reduced sentence. And my brother and dad ended up testifying in court. And the entire experience, like obviously was devastating, but it like inspired me to, sort of follow the tracks of, law like this. I thought was like really good. The way they treated our family was really nice. And ultimately they got guilty verdicts and it just felt great. It was a really good experience, very positive. It was all devastating, but it led to something good.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, it kind of put me on a trajectory towards law. And we call them K through JD. So from kindergarten all the way through law school, no breaks. That's what I ended up doing. So I felt like I planned out my life pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I went into law. I still am in law now.
I didn't realize you had sort of a little bit of a Batman origin story to your career.
A little bit.
Different.
A little bit, yeah.
No one died, thankfully.
Yeah,
you didn't have to take justice into your own hands, but
right. And instead
still
of
motivated you to participate in the system.
Yeah, instead of me fighting with Mr. Penguin, I'm here, friends with Mr. Penguin, holding your hand.
Fuck you.
Yeah, that's my life. What about yours?
I wanted to be a Pokemon trainer.
But you were too gay?
No, obviously Pokemon didn't exist, so that wasn't going to happen.
Oh, you're being serious.
Yeah. No, when I was really young, I was like, I'm going to be a Pokemon trainer.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't be a Pokemon trainer.
And your parents are like, as long as he's not gay. As long as he's not gay.
As long as he's playing with those pocket monsters instead of men.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, I was like obsessed with the world of Harry Potter. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a wizard. Like that didn't work out either.
How disappointed were you when your 11th birthday came around and there was no letter?
No letter from Hogwarts. Yeah. So I think that's kind of why like our generation feels a lot of depression and desire to not work, is like we were told we could do all these amazing, incredible things, fantasy stories, and reality just didn't mirror that.
I actually blame Disney Channel.
That's fair. I
blame them because they made you believe that an ordinary person could do anything.
They can, you just can't. Just like JoJo, it requires delusion and believing in yourself.
What's wrong with her then?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
What is wrong with her? Oh, God.
But weirdly enough, I wanted to be a plastic surgeon, and I think it was kind of due to nip tuck. So there was like a weird part of like late middle school, early high school where I was less focused on the journey and more on the results. And I think Brian's character from Queer as Folk definitely was very influential to me. And then one of the characters from Nip Tuck, that I really liked the aesthetic of their lifestyle. Like I wanted this like...
Was it the Bachelor guy?
Yeah, I wanted like this expensive high rise in a city, and I would knew I would drive a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And I never really saw myself like with anybody. I would just be like a permanent, well-to-do bachelor. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a plastic surgeon. That quickly fizzled, because we, in biology, we dissected frogs, and at the first cut, I passed out.
Did anyone grab you? Like, did you hit?
No, I hit the floor. Stone cold, hit the floor.
Or the original death drop?
The original death drop. So that wasn't gonna work out. And then, weirdly...
Did you get to go home after that?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Did people make fun of you after that?
No, because I think someone else passed out too. Anyway, after that,
Do you remember, sorry, side story, but I remember also dissecting things in 7th grade. Everything was so much thicker. Like the skin.
Well, it's all filled with like the formaldehyde fluid, and it's all gray.
Them. And I just remember taking the first stab and just it feels weird.
I can't remember if it's Elle or someone else, but someone told me that they did theirs on kittens. Like theirs were on kitten fetuses.
We did.
I would have vomited. Yeah.
From what I remember, I know I did worms, and I did a goat eye.
I do remember the worm, and you would put those pins in it, and that was so gross.
Yeah. And again, why was it so thick?
I don't know. That's what he said. But after that, I pivoted to become, or that I thought I would become a lawyer. Makes sense, I was thinking, what's going to earn me the most?
And you saw Legally Blonde and thought, I could do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you had last season Prada shoes.
They were probably the current season, to be honest. But I interned for a friend of my brother's who was a bankruptcy attorney.
Okay.
Oh, roughest summer of my life.
Was it a really bad attorney that yelled at you?
No, it was just I had to sit in with all the briefings and stuff with him and the clients and hear about what was going on, and then filing for Chapter 11 and just all this intense stuff. So I think he started taking on divorce too as a part of bankruptcy as well.
Oh, that's a mess.
Yeah,
I guess it comes hand in hand.
Yeah. So I spent a summer doing that, and then I was like, okay, first of all, this just owning your own law firm, it just seems really dry and boring. And then also just the subject matter, even though there's obviously a wide gamut of subjects that you could cover with law, but I knew I was not going to do trial. And I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me either. So I kind of graduated high school and not really knowing what I would do. So I went through just a traditional finance kind of program, knowing business and finance, knowing that would be kind of versatile like me.
Did you get? You're not versatile.
I'll get you references.
Did you get your degree in business?
Yeah, yeah, and then I like had 2-ish jobs throughout college. I was working like part-time in retail for a big electronics retailer. And then my other job, well, I was managing sort of the investment fund for my university.
Oh, cool.
And then halfway through college, I left the retail job and then got a job at a consulting firm. So
cool.
I was in school at a consulting firm and managing portions of my school's investment portfolio.
Move over, boss CEO lady.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So yeah, and then after that, I've like just sort of meandered my way through a bunch of different like corporate roles, and now I'm in tech today.
Yeah, I'm still in law. Are you out at your job?
Yes. So back to the focus of today. I am out of my job actively. I talk about my partner. I even talk about sort of gay events that we're doing, things that we do together. I show like pictures of all my friends doing things because we have to give like a weekly update and show like photos, and like, I mean, I'm next to you and our other friends, clearly gay.
Yeah.
I have, except for the consulting job that I had in college, that's the only time I've ever actively hid being gay at work. Have you always been out at work? Or?
So obviously when I was in high school, I wasn't out. And then I was on a board during college that, paid me a little bit amount, but I don't really consider that as like a real job. I feel like my first real big boy job was post law school. And in that environment, in that job, I remember I came out during the interview process. So like, I remember I wanted to like rip the Band-Aid off. Like, I never wanted to be like in the closet again. So I made sure like when I came out, I'm just going to leave it all on the table. Like, I'm going to say my boyfriend in front of them so that they all know that I'm gay. And if I'm hired, I'm hired. So, I mean, I did that. I was there for 5 years. Now I'm at this new job, and I did the same exact thing. Like, I made it very clear to the applicants, like, oh yeah, my boyfriend and I, whenever is like appropriate, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I never want to be in a position where I feel like I'm hiding something.
Yeah.
Because it just makes me uncomfortable, and it's just unnecessary stress at a stressful job.
Yeah.
What about you?
So the reason I wasn't out in my consulting job, I mean, first it was like sort of my like dipping my toe into like a big boy job, right? It was still like just an hourly position, but I knew it was going to be sort of pivotal in getting me something like a lot more serious after I graduated. And it was definitely a boys club. It was all men, and this is like Northern Georgia, you know what I mean? Like, some of them were like good old boy, like old Southern kind of types. And I don't know that they necessarily would have been like not accepting of me, but I wasn't really willing to risk it. Yeah. And I don't know. I've never been anyone to like hide who I am. I think if they would have asked me, I probably would have just said I'm gay, but they never really probed. So I have a sense that they probably sort of knew or suspected. Cause in like 2.5 years or 3 years, it never came up.
Yeah. Didn't you also wear your jock strap all the way up?
All the way up. Yeah. So that when I would like bend and snap, the hot pink band.
And you'd put your hands around the guy's shoulders. Oh, you're so tense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would get free massages on Thursdays. After that, I've always been extremely open about it, even in environments that weren't so positive or conducive to like doing so. I don't know. Like, it's interesting to hear that you've kind of always been out. I guess, like, again, you're in California, and I've always been in California. But like, I would think that law similarly is kind of like a boys' club a lot of the time.
It definitely is. And I will say that I do conform more to like the social norms.
Does that mean that you find yourself like code switching?
So what is code switching?
Yeah, so that would be like adjusting your sort of behaviors, like speech patterns, hand movements, the way you dress, the way you style yourself, etc., to appear in a more heteronormative or like standard way. I think for you, like already, unless someone asked you, it's not super obvious that you're gay. But do you feel like, even regardless of that you found yourself at times like saying things or doing things to just sort of like be a little less obvious or fit in more?
Yeah. So like I did a lot of jury trials. It's a very like man's world out there.
Like boys club kind of thing.
Yeah. I like when I was in with my coworkers or with my boss, I would definitely play like this persona. It wouldn't come up and there would be no reason. And it's not like they're my coworkers. I'm going to see them that often. So I wouldn't volunteer information unless I had to.
Yeah.
Especially being in front of a jury trial. Like I remember after speaking with jurors afterwards, they'd ask me like, I remember I had this like stupid bracelet that I
Livestrong?
No, it was, I mean, the story is freaking weird. It was Oktoberfest and they gave you a necklace of pretzels.
Okay.
And I kept the thread or the pretzels. I just kept it around my wrist. And I remember after speaking to some jurors and I'm like, oh, did your kid make that? And I just said, yeah. I lied about having wife and kids.
Yeah, just easier to say that than
say, no, I'm actually, I like it in the butt.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily understand like why you would need to be out at work. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like whether you need to be or not?
I think that you definitely do need to be out because it helps you, first of all, create a relationship with your coworkers. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just speaking with strangers every single day. And they talk about it all the time, right? If you go to someone's desk, at least in my environment, you see pictures of their kids, their wife. And I feel like if you're not expressing yourself in that way, you're hiding a big portion of yourself. Like if they get to do it, we should too. And that's just part of being normalizing homosexuality.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, it's a spectrum within the LGBTQ plus group of people that some are more obvious than others, et cetera. So it's not always something that is easy to like necessarily suppress either.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that you like at least have some people that you can trust and be out to at work. I mean, there's a lot of stress that probably comes with trying to like cover up and maybe like not necessarily lie, but just not
be as out as you normally are.
Because people inevitably ask questions about your home life and your partners and like, your plans for kids and all these things. I mean, God, I can't tell you how many times I've had to hear about my female coworkers telling me about them attempting to get pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, Bethany, we're raw dogging on the weekend too, but I'm not like telling you about it. And so I think a lot of people like they go to that where they like, again, think that we're going to be talking about like butt fucking, but it's like, no, like we're just trying to like be able to truthfully or at least kind of authentically show up and respond to these questions and things that inevitably come up. Like, I told you I have to share like what happened over the weekend. And of course, that has to get censored or filtered in some way, like everyone does. But like if I didn't reveal like those parts of myself, I would have like nothing to talk about that I like have a partner and, like what I do with all my gay friends, etc. So I think it's important that you at least have some people that you can open up to and, talk about it with at work.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm pretty open to like everyone, if they ask me, oh, like, what did you do this weekend? Even if it's my boss, I'd be like, I went out with my boyfriend. Like, I have no problem. I think the only time I think I would never, like wear something that's super overtly gay. Like, I still kind of feel like uncomfortable by wearing like rainbow bracelets at work.
So by gay, you mean things that just like are pride
related.
Symbols.
Yeah. Like I still feel like maybe that isn't too much. And I don't feel like I'm hiding something. But I do feel like in a corporate environment, if you do want to kind of succeed, you have to kind of play by some rules.
It is true that within the corporate structure, there's like, they say show up as your like true authentic self, but they don't actually mean that. Yeah. Like you still are playing a bit of a role, and like you definitely don't want me showing up as my true authentic self because everyone would quit.
Right. And I'm friends with you and I don't want you showing up as your authentic self.
Exactly. So they couldn't handle the tea, honestly.
And that's their loss, baby.
It is their loss. Have you ever, like to your knowledge, ever experienced homophobia or a different treatment?
I was thinking about this in preparation, and I can truly say that I don't think I have. And I think part of that is because I am so open about it. Like representation does matter. It does change people.
You were too ditzy to notice?
I wasn't going to go that way, but it could be, it's possible. No, but I think that if you do like, why is it so important to be out? I think it's important to be out because being gay in a straight environment it shows visibility. It changes people's perspectives about gay people.
I've actually had those sort of experiences at work for sure. My first big boy corporate job post college,
Georgia.
Yeah, it was almost entirely straight guys that I worked with, very like clean cut finance bro kind of types.
And you were out at this job?
I was out.
Do you remember how you came out?
I mean, I think I just like we would have lunch together and I would talk about, my partner, and they would also ask like very obscene things.
Like more, what?
Just out of curiosity.
Like what?
Sexual things, like how it works, and like the guys I'm into, like around the office and stuff like that.
See, I mean, like that is such a HR violation.
Totally. But there's a guy that I wasn't, like, we sort of had conflict in the beginning. Like you could tell he was uncomfortable with like
you being gay.
Yeah. And my cubicle was next to his and like, he just wouldn't really say anything. And like, we went out one night and like had like the best night ever and had sort of a breakthrough moment. Mm-hmm. And he even said something like, he's like, I wasn't really sure what it was going to be like to hang out with a gay guy, but he's like, you're actually kind of cool, which was like super weird.
He
like,
must have been really drunk because you're not.
Yeah, you won't leave me alone. Sort of inappropriate comment, but you have to like put it into perspective too, right? Like someone in Georgia may not have always had the exposure like, that people have today. And this was also like 10 years ago. But now we're actually super close.
Really, to this day?
We talk all the time. When I go back home, he's typically one of the first people I hit up to see if he's around to hang. So to your point, I think representation and visibility really matters. Yeah. Like not everyone's had the same amount of exposure and experiences, and showing up at least somewhat authentically helps, normalize that for some people. I actually have had some, I guess, like, I don't know, not directly. No, I guess I have experienced homophobia in the workplace. Same company, actually. There was a Mormon, he was a director and he was Mormon, and he would constantly like talk about his religion in front of people. And there was, this was when gay marriage was being in front of the Supreme Court. Was that 2015?
2015, yeah.
Yeah, he was public or like audibly around the office saying how disgusting it was that gays like wanted to be married, and like no one did anything about it. No one complained to HR.
Yeah.
There's also like a power dynamic there. I was significantly lower than him at that point in time, and like I wasn't gonna say anything about it, but it was literally all I could do to not get in an argument with him.
That's so frustrating.
I sort of just like, it's nothing I would do now. Like,
did anyone say anything to you? Like,
no, no one said anything. Again, it's Georgia. Yeah. This is a major Fortune 500 company though, by the way.
And was this in Atlanta?
Yeah, in Atlanta. Wow. And I mean, it was sort of routine that people would also make kind of gay jokes or jokes about like gay men. It's just like an easy, like sort of target. I mean, these are a bunch of people that like, came from small rural towns, moved up into corporate America, and they're the same bullies that they were when they were kids. So I wouldn't say I really ever had anything directly targeted at me in the workplace, but I definitely experienced things that I'm just like, wow, that's a really fucked up thing to say. And then more recently, a couple of years ago, I had a new coworker join the team from Texas, of course, and she we were working in like the aviation industry, and she knew someone that was like a major high up person within this space that was gay. And I was like having issues like working with him, like negotiating a contract with him. And she came into the role and she was like, oh, we're going to have no issues. She's like, I'm really close with him. And she goes, you know, he's gay, right? And I didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, and you are too. So she's like, you guys are going to get along great.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
So I've definitely dealt with stuff like that. I've dealt with like managers, even though most of my managers have been really good. I've had some that have like sort of treated me maybe in the same way that I think women often experience in the workplace, where it's like, if you get really passionate about something, it's like, oh, you're being too emotional because you're gay. And it's, even if they don't say it directly, it's sort of implied. That's what they're saying. Cause I think these are all realities. And I still to this day deal with sort of that boy club culture. Even though the workspace I'm in now is very accepting, we have really strong policies around sexual orientation and gender identity, etc. I still deal with the boys club culture where it's a bunch of like men that all play golf together and stuff like that. Not that you can't be gay and do that, but I'm just saying that like there's a lot of us that probably didn't grow up doing those things and aren't into those things.
Yeah.
And
we just have no interest in it. We have nothing to add.
And it's not just alienating for queer people too, right? Like it's women. A lot of women are not invited. Like even if they can play, like these guys aren't inviting those people into it because there's like some assumption that you can't or aren't into this.
I mean, when we talk about like, I had a conversation about this a while ago, but I was explaining like having a relationship, like being straight and having a straight male interviewer, being a straight male applicant, like there is a connection that they have that gets you ahead, a leg up. So if you want to talk about sports, like I would be completely oblivious if they invited you to some sort of event, that'd be bonding that you wouldn't get. Like it's like all these additional things that people don't think about.
Yeah, it makes like the actual networking really hard.
Yeah.
Because like these things that you would use to fill a conversation or to like bond with someone, it's often not super easy.
Yeah. Again, that's like why we need, like, I'm pro LGBT conferences. I'm like, it's important to
build a network.
Yeah. Black people to do the same thing. Like they have the same issues, obviously for different reasons.
Yeah.
But like it's important to have these very specific networks. Do you feel like it's hard? Do you have like any sort of awkward relationship with straight males, coworkers?
I do my best to sort of connect with them, but to what you're saying, I guess where I'm getting at now, I'm in my mid 30s and a lot of people at the level that I'm at and that I'm dealing with are also in a similar age range and they're having their kids, which again, not that you can't be queer and have kids, but like I don't.
Right.
And so it's hard to relate and talk about what they're doing on like a day-to-day basis. There's like nothing really to connect with. I've realized that our life outside of work could not be more different.
My goodness, they are so like I think they would die.
Are the straights okay?
Their mind would just explode if they did what we did on the weekends.
Totally.
Like they wouldn't be able to handle it. Have you ever seen Annihilation?
No.
With Natalie Portman? You haven't?
I don't think so. I hate Natalie Portman.
Oh, you're missing out. Anyways, their mind explodes, like literally explodes, and that's what would happen to straight people. I'm relatively new at this new job, and I remember when I went into when I first joined, they made me fill out like this quick survey, and one of the questions is, "What is your favorite sports team?"
Oh,
and so I said the Dallas Cowboys because my family is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And then they blasted it all out on my first day, and people are emailing me about the fucking Dallas Cowboys. And I had to Google ESPN facts about Dallas Cowboys.
Now you could just use ChatGPT to get you some like answers.
But no, they confront me in person. And like I have to, like, I'm like, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Why is this even a question? This is I need to amend my response. I have experienced homophobia, and it's asking me what my favorite sports team is.
It's always the work culture events too. They always want to go to a sports outing.
My Christmas party was at the Oakland A's stadium.
Always. And again, it's because like these men at the top assume that everyone else wants to go
do it.
Yeah. And it's a great way to have the company pay for it. And I'm like, I don't want to go do this shit.
Another thing is, this was like last week. I was speaking with a vendor, not a coworker, and we're just like chit-chatting, and then he goes, "Are you watching March Madness?" And I said, "No." And then he looked at me awkwardly. He goes, Oh, well, and it's just, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to impress you. I don't have to impress you. You're trying to impress me, and I'm not going to play with your stupid little games.
This is making me think of, I have something that's kind of the opposite of this. When I first started, like,
are you watching RuPaul?
Yeah, exactly. When serious? I first started hanging out with like gays, and they kept talking about Drag Race, and I just thought everyone was into street like drag racing. For the longest time, I had no idea that there was RuPaul's Drag Race. So idiot sandwich. Yeah. So I guess we've talked about like what our experiences have been like being queer in the workplace. Like, what advice would you have to someone that, you know, maybe hasn't come out or is struggling to do so?
I would say rip the Band-Aid off.
You think so?
I think you do it early and you do it quickly. But I would, especially if you want to stay in that career, I would only bring it up when it's appropriate. Like, I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, you can be your authentic self. I think that you should be gay and you should be proud of it. But I think if you want to be like, especially in a corporate environment, if you want to get in your move up the ladder, I think you have to play by some of the rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it requires nuance and context. Like, again, we live in a bubble here. Yeah. We're blessed to be here where, you know, it's sort of the norm. Like, I could throw a rock in my office and hit 15 queers. Trademarked. But, you know, that's not the case everywhere. So I realized that, you know, if you're in one of these godforsaken places like Florida or Texas, Idaho, all these irrelevant places, that it
flyover states.
Yeah, that it may not be as easy as it is here. And so I do think it requires some like context. And sometimes that just means like hustling and like doing what you can to get by until you can like be somewhere that's like a little bit safer. I think also you just shouldn't like assume that no one around you is like you. And so find some people that you have built some trust with and try to be a little bit more open with them and see what happens. And you know what? I think this goes for allies too. Like, you're not being a good ally, especially in the workplace, if you're only telling gay people you're an ally. Like, you need to be communicating this to straight people, like being involved in the resource groups and like actively championing that across your office space so that people that maybe don't feel comfortable know that there's someone that they can go to and talk to.
Exactly. I think that's really important. Like, you should tell gay people, hey, I do ketamine, instead of saying I'm an ally.
Yeah, you don't even have to say I'm an ally.
Yeah,
you just say,
hey, I'm a horse girl.
And all the gays will know.
Yeah, they'll know. And that they will feel much more comfortable with that statement than saying I'm an ally.
And now you got to spend a lot more money on some extra goodies for the weekend.
Are you friends with gay coworkers?
Not really. I try to keep work and my personal life separate. I've done it before.
Yeah.
And again, most of those straight guys I hung out with at work, like I did go out and hang out with them, but we were all like in our 20s. Now everyone's in our 30s.
Low levels.
But you love hanging out with a coworker.
I do. I mean, I haven't like really found like friends at this new job like I had at my old job. But you know, I'll probably find somebody.
I feel like I can't deal at this point in my life, like, because my career's gotten more serious. I'm higher in seniority, title, etc. I don't need people with that kind of leverage against me.
But do you feel like you're like more like you have a better relationship with a gay coworker?
No.
Really?
No, I feel competitive.
I mean, that makes sense with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a me thing for sure. Like, I'm going to be the baddest bitch in the room. Like, that's inevitable. So like if I see another girly, like, no, it's going to be me that's running the show. So at my old job, there was no other openly gay coworkers. So this is at this new job. But you had some that you suspected.
Yeah, and we know who it is. We're not going to talk about that. But at this new job, there are openly gay people. A ton of them. Like, I see a guy with Doc Martens on. I'm like, you're gay. But there are, you know, it's like weird having this interaction.
His wife probably gave them to him, or his like gay brother or something.
But it's like so interesting. Like, I still haven't come out to the gay coworkers because they're not like in my department, but also like I'm not, like you said, like I'm not the most obvious gay person. So it's like, I don't know how to even approach this. It's like an entirely new.
You should get like a little rainbow pin or something you wear at the office, or put a little flag in your mug, like a mug on your desk or something.
During June. I'll do it during June.
Yeah, you should do it.
Let them know.
Be the change you want to see in the world, Alec. But I was going to say, like, I mentioned the employee resource groups. I think for someone that, like, again, doesn't, know who to go to, that should be like one of the first places you start, like, get involved with it. Because even in participating in one of those doesn't like necessarily mean that you're gay or lesbian or however you identify.
If you're a male, it does. But no, that's very important. And I would also say that if you're at a job where you don't know if you can be out, I think that's a red flag, and it's not worth the emotional stress that you're going to have to continue on in an environment like that. You should you should probably leave.
Yeah, I mean, I think longer term, you should probably figure out something. Yeah. Again, like
figure it out. Get out.
It's not necessarily an easy thing for everyone to sort out, but I think that you should explore your options and try to find something that is like going to be more conducive to like a healthy, like happy environment for you longer term. Because again, it's going to be hard to establish that trust with your coworkers. They're always going to be like questioning stuff if you're like being shady and not like being semi-authentic about your life outside of work. But you also just like don't want to show up to something where you feel like you're having to like play a character every day, like go back into a closet. I just think we're past that now. It's 2024. Use the resources around you, and then also outside of work, like make sure you have a network of people you can talk to.
Right.
Well, I think that's our notes on being queer in the workplace.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
All right. See you next week. Hey, it's Colby and Alex here. Thank you for listening to No Notes.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and share with your friends.
You can also follow us on Instagram at No Notes Pod, one word, where you'll find updates on new episodes and see more into our lives and the stories that we share with you on this show.
Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep it real and keep it queer.